Hi, this is Carolyn from O2Bstamping.com, and I'm glad you stopped in today. I wanted to show you a Christmas card made with the Strength and Prayers stamp set, and the sentiment comes from the Star of Light. Now, many of you may be having a little trouble thinking Christmas already because, like here, it's 80 degrees outside. But I know that in a blink of an eye, Christmas is going to be upon us, so I'm trying to get started on my Christmas cards a little early. How about you? Well, today I'll show you how easy and quick this card is to make, and maybe it will get you in the spirit. So speaking of spirit, the sentiment says, "A little Christmas spirit brightens all the world." And I've used the copper embossing powder to do the dove and some little copper twine to just add a little bit of embellishment and shine to it. So let's get started. Actually, before I get started, I'll show you one other card that I did using the same stamp set. And I used the Sweet Sugar Plum with the, I'm not sure what that's called, the embossing on the background. I don't think you can see that, but it looks like snow falling to me. And it says, "Guide us to thy perfect light." So now let's get started. Okay, so first I'm going to have a piece of Whisper White cardstock, folded in half, burnished with my bone folder, and then I'm going to take a piece of Designer Series paper from one of our Christmas collections, and I'll write all that information down for you on the screen, and also it'll be on my blog. Add that. And then I've also have a piece of Whisper White paper that measures 4.5 by 3.25. Now this piece, I'm going to actually take my embossing buddy and just wipe over this. That'll keep the embossing powder from landing on parts of your paper that you may not want it on. Okay. Then I'm going to use my Versamark ink pad, and I'm going to ink my stamp up this way. So I know I've got the ink right where I want it. And one of the little tips that I'm going to give you is when you make this card, you want to make the you don't want the dovetail to come down too far, because if it does, then it's hard to get the sentiment underneath it. So you want it to sort of be straight across like so. And this is a clear sticky ink, so you're not going to see anything here, but as soon as I add the embossing powder, you will be able to see the image. Now, if you have any embossing powder in places that you don't want it, such as right here at the top where I picked up a bit of a shadow off of the rubber stamp, you're just going to take a small brush and just brush that away. You can get out your heat tool at that time, and I always like to cover a small clipboard with some tin foil. This helps from getting your fingers burned. It also reflects the heat from the bottom, so I like to do it that way. Now I'm going to turn my heat gun on, and it makes a lot of noise on the video, so I'm just going to silence this right now. Okay, I stopped the heat gun before it was done because I wanted to show you a little tip about heat embossing. So if you can see here where it's really nice and gold and shiny, but up at the top, right in this area, it's kind of grayish looking. Can you see that on the video? I think you can. If you see gray areas like that in your embossing, it means it's not heated enough. Now there is also another effect where it's heated too much and you've burned it, but it's usually the opposite. It's usually that it's not heated enough. So just take your heat tool, and go over those spots if you see any. It's very important to do that because if you don't, then when you go to fool with the card, finish completing the card, or even if your recipient gets the card and they touch that area, the powder is just going to fall off and it's going to be, the card will be ruined. So you want to make sure that you don't leave any gray areas. Okay, and at this point, what I did was used a corner rounder that I have in my inventory. It is not currently in our stock, so you could use just a corner rounder that we have if you'd like, or you can just leave it plain like this. You could sponge around the edges if you want to add a little bit more texture to it, but you can see on the original that I used this little corner punch. And you may have some other decorative corner punches that you could use as well. With all corner punches, you want to make sure that you get the corner of the cardstock right up in the very edge, otherwise it won't punch correctly. And usually if you try to punch them the second time, they don't come out well, if at all. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is to prepare my sentiments. I'm going to bring these items in. This is from the Layering Ovals Framelit set. A small piece of Whisper White and a small piece of Cherry Cobbler. And I'm going to bring in my Cherry Cobbler ink pad and two stamps from the Star of Light set. This one says A Little Christmas Spirit, brightens all the world. Ink that up. Oh, I missed down at the bottom where it says brightens. Didn't quite get that inked well enough. I'm just going to turn that over. Check my stamp this time. Isn't that funny? I always check my stamps, but when I'm on video, I forget those little things. Okay, and then I'm going to take this and put it around my sentiment and run it through my Big Shots. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So one of the other things that I did was to also cut my background piece, again using the Layering Oval Framelits die, which I love those, because I love the way they layer. They just leave a very small border around the edge, and that's how I actually like to see mine. I don't like the really big border, so that works just perfect for me. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in these three little stars, also from the Star of Light stamp set, and just give it a little bit more color. One of the things that I noticed while I was off camera is that I was using these photopolymer stamps without a pad underneath them, and the A on my sentiment was coming out a little fuzzy, so I actually went and fixed that while I was off camera. But I wanted to let you know that when you're using photopolymer stamps, it's good if you can use a type of a cushion underneath it. We actually sell one, and I'll put the item number on the board, on the video for you. If you don't have one, you can also use an old mouse pad if you remember those. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and mount this. So that's my fuzzy A that I was telling you that I fixed while I was off camera on the back there. Okay, and then I'm going to add a couple of dimensionals on the back here, one on each side. I'll show you why I'm doing it to the side in just a moment. Okay, so I'm going to bring this back out. Really need the background, and I'm going to just place this here to sort of see where I want it. And then I'm going to take another dimensional and I'm going to put it right under there. Now, the reason I want to do that is for using the copper, I'm not sure what we're calling this, it's not really wire, copper thread, I'm supposing. You'll notice that I keep it in place by using a dimensional when it's not in use. Okay, and I'm going to tear this top dimensional, tear that adhesive protector off, and I'm just going to add that to my dimensional, and then I'm going to simply wrap it. My spool wants to misbehave on me. Let's see if I can hold on to it. There we go. Alright, and then each time I come around to the dimensional, I'm going to just press down on it. Okay, and you can go around like 4 or 5 times and then just snip it off. And that'll hold that in place. You can always adjust these on the side if you'd like after the fact. Then I'm going to take my sentiment, peel the adhesive backings off, and place that right where I want it. Alright, and then you can use dimensionals on the back of this as well if you wanted. I actually did not, just went straight down with my fast fuse. Now, some people just use fast fuse for like heavy duty items, but I like to use it even for my cards because I don't want, sometimes the snail adhesive in a humid environment will like come undone, and I don't want my cards to come undone, so I usually use the fast fuse for everything. Okay, there she is, all finished. And the other thing that you can do as well while you have the stamp set out is to simply take your put this over here, your stamp and your ink. You could even emboss it on the envelope if you wanted to, but I'm just going to use actually my, this over here, my cherry cobbler ink, and ink that up and just decorate the envelope a little bit. There we go. I need to cut that little edge off. I keep getting a little shadow on this upper edge. If that happens to you, you're rocking it a little bit, which is obviously what I'm doing, but you can also take some craft scissors or some really sharp scissors and just trim that edge off if you're having some problems with it. Okay, and there we go. All done. So thank you for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope, even though this is pretty early to say this, I hope you have a Merry Christmas and come back and visit often. Thank you.